I co, mamy dzisiaj filmik The Noteworthy Secrets of Elden Ring od Vati Vidaya. I tu będą pewnie pewnie takie rzeczy, których w ogóle ja nie pomyślałam, że mogę w ogóle zrobić. Zaczynamy.
This tip is given to us by an in-game note, which says, your opportunities for a plunging attack will be rare indeed. And while that is true,
Dobra, tego nie
the hitbox on
wiedziałam.
this is really janky, you can definitely pull off some spectacular kills. Give it a try. And I wonder, are there any other enemies that are open to plunging attacks? What other secrets haven't we found yet? This game is absolutely
Pojebane. Pojebane, że można tak na niego sobie wskoczyć i po prostu mieć wywalone.
brimming with hidden content, and I feel like this secrets video is going to be the first of many on Elden Ring, so subscribe for that. But in this video we're going to be...
Ty, ja chyba nie byłam w tej jaskini ani razu. Nie byłam, bo nie pamiętam, żeby mi się takie przejście w ogóle odpalało, więc co to w ogóle ma być?
talking about all the noteworthy secrets that From Software themselves have written down for us. Most of these you can buy from the merchants found throughout the game, and while some of these notes aren't worth the paper that they're printed on, today we're going to talk about the ones that are, and also how the most hidden of these notes lead you to the dark secrets of the merchants themselves. Now, for this next secret, I want to try and help you defeat an enemy that I know a lot of you have been having trouble with, the land squirts. They
Oh,
need to be
Boże.
nerfed. Honestly, it's bullshit. But until then, you can defeat them with poison easily. It's counterintuitive, but poisoning these things overloads them with toxin, and they can't expel it fast enough, so they tragically explode in their own poison cloud. This, in turn, poisons the land squirts around them, who explode and poison the ones around them, and so on. And
I to leci tak w kół cały czas. Od jednego do drugiego i tak dalej.
and so on. It's kind of sad watching them fall victim to their own poison in this way, but also strangely satisfying. The same
No.
strategy can be used against the giant land squirts found in northeastern Leonia, and the scarlet rot variant as well, found in Caelid, which can also be overloaded with scarlet rot. Pick your poison.
Uuu.
Or don't, and just knock them over with a couple of R2s instead. Land squirts are softest where they touch the ground. Another counterintuitive strategy can be used against the Royal Revenants, who actually are extremely difficult and a lot of people are having trouble with. They never give you a chance to heal, which is the hardest part.
O Boże.
That said, if you do get a chance to heal your damage, they might just take damage instead. Any AoE heal can be used to absolutely destroy them in this way, and if you use more powerful heals, that's even more true. This same logic applies to their followers as well, who are all cursed, just like them. Thus, your heals will harm rather than mend. Curiously, you can even sort of poison them with healing over time spells, which is a great touch.
Czyli one działają jak zombie w Minecrafcie. Że ty się healujesz, a im możesz zadać damage tym. Na przykład podkom na heala, jak zombie się rzucało w Minecrafcie, to właśnie oni dostawali obrażenia.
If you want to make them suffer, and I know a lot of you do, I've seen the forum posts. Another contender for the most hated enemy are the Stormvale Warhawks, particularly the ones that peg fire barrels at you.
Grawitacja na nich działa. Czemu każdy potwór jest zagrożony przez własną moc? Co jest? Koszmar każdego gracza Elden Ring, no. Ale naprawdę, to każdy jest przez swoją moc tak na dobrą sprawę rozjebany.
Use gravity magic, however, and you can just devastate them. The same goes for any flying foe. They will all be brought low by spells like Gravity Well or Ashes of War, like Gravitas. Another enemy you can bring low are the Stone Digger Trolls, whose heads bear old wounds. With one well-aimed ranged attack, preferably while they're doing that roar, they'll be left reeling, which gives you ample time to charge some R2s and bring them to their knees. This next note...
O! Tego też nie sprawdzałam, ale ja łukiem nie grałam na przykład. Tego nie wiedziałam, że można ich tak zabić. No, ja też nie.
Is a little less useful, but interesting. Slay the demi-human mob's leader first, and the rest will lose hope and panic. I mean, you should probably always be killing the little guys first, if you can, so I'm not sure how
Aha,
helpful
i
this
się
one is,
podali po prostu.
but it is cool to see their tribal dependence on a leader from the gameplay.
Kurwa. Czemu to są dzbany? Dzbany, kurwa, przywołał jebany, co jest?
Point of view. Speaking of things you can't see, though, have you fought an invisible black knife assassin yet? They're tough. I only beat my first one by relying on spirit summons to point out where they are. Luckily, though, there's a better way of beating these guys. The merchant in the Hermit Merchant's Shack sells a sentry's torch, which is bestowed with a special incantation that allows
A
the
Jezu,
bearer
to
to
jest ten
see
gościu. Ja pierdzielę. Ja chyba 3 razy do niego podchodziłam. Tak mnie wkurzał.
assassins cloaked in veils. It was this invisibility that allowed the Black Knives to steal the Rune of Death and slay Godwyn the Golden ages ago. Thus, sentry torches were given to Erdtree sentries
Pochodnia
such
OP,
that a night
tak
of Black
zwana.
Knives would never come again. This is a character that you see represented all throughout the Lands Between. He is the Usher of Death, and when his statues are activated, they shine a light that points towards a dungeon. Sometimes what he's pointing to is really obvious, and sometimes the light is pointing you towards dungeons that are very hidden indeed. Specifically, though, this light always points towards catacomb-type dungeons. After all, the dead easily lose their...
Ej, nie wiedziałam, że ten... Nie wiedziałam, że to tak działa. Ja to zapalałam i miałam takie... Ty, a po co to? Kurwa. Ja pierdzielę. Kurwa, delulu, streamerka. Katakoby to taka serdeczna. A ja lubiłam po nich latać. Ja lubiłam. Po wszystkich tutaj jaskiniach.
their way, and have always been in sore need of a guiding hand. I think they're looking for a way back to the roots of the Erdtree, which seem to always appear in these catacomb dungeons. For number 10, there is a hidden cave in the town of Celia. Look beyond the graveyard at the precipice. So, yeah, they're using the term town pretty loosely here. You have to go quite far north to find the illusory wall behind the graveyard. This is the Celia hideaway. It's a glintstone cavern that you'll need to find at one point if you're on Sorceress Sellen's questline, and her questline leads you through a locked door that you can find within as well.
O kurde, ej, ja tu byłam? Ja chyba tędy nie byłam. A to dobre przypadkiem znalazłam, a ja nie. Ja tego chyba w ogóle nie znalazłam.
But if you're not on that questline, you can also pick up a Crystal Torrent spell, which recently got buffed, a Crystal Spear, and the Crystallian Ashes, which are an excellent summon against anything that doesn't use blunt damage. I'd recommend it. Next, for number 11, we're going to start talking about the Merchants. This nomadic tribe, they're absolutely intriguing, and there's so much more to them than you'd expect. You're first introduced to them at the start of the game, of course, with Kale,
Yay, Mikołaj!
who can be used to kick off Blythe's questline. After hearing a howling in the Mistwood, speak to Kale and he'll say this.
The howl of a wolf? In the Mistwood? I suppose he must still be skulking about.
A, to tę misję robiłam akurat.
No. Why not meet him for yourself?
Perform the emote here in the forest, and I'll let you see where this questline leads. Kale also sells a note that tells you the location of Sorceress Sellen, who you can talk to kick off her questline, which we just mentioned continues in the hidden cave in Celia.
Tej też
So all of
baby
these
nie znałam.
notes are written by the merchants. They probably have a lot of collective intelligence as a nomadic tribe, and they sell this to adventurers. But one of these notes tells you not to go somewhere, and it's a note about the Frenzied Flame village, which is inhabited by the sick and located south of the Grand Lift of Dectus. A lot of folks would have missed this location, since it sort of requires you to double back from the Grand Lift, get past the tower, inflicting you with madness, Hide from it, just like you hid from the brain of Mensis when it afflicted you with frenzy in Bloodborne. Atop this Tower of Frenzy is the Howl of Shabriri spell, and at the precipice of the cliff beyond it is the Frenzied Flame Village. Here you can get the Shabriri's Woe
Tu chyba też nie byłam. Nie kojarzę kompletnie. Chociaż tą wieżę pamiętam, że trzeba było koło niej przebiec.
Talisman, the Frenzied Cookbook, and you can also have an encounter with Vike, who drops a Frenzy Spear, and also a grape for Hyetta, who is an NPC whose questline goes down the path that I'm about to describe. Perhaps the most curious thing in this village, though, is a corpse of someone who has died of frenzy in the corner hidden in some bushes. There's a note on his body that hides a clue that will lead you further down the path of frenzy. Like the others, this note is, of course, written by a merchant, and this one tells
Pierdoleni kupcy ich notatki.
us who their lord is. Beneath Lanedale, at the very bottom, lies our lord, Lord of the Frenzied, the Three Fingers, who holds us in thrall. Note that when you fight a merchant, a lot of them fight with frenzy. This note prompted me to explore further, beyond the sewers. It led me to a new boss fight, and then when I knew that this couldn't possibly be the end of the path, it prompted me to go even further, to activate the passageway behind the boss
No to tego nie było. Tutaj mnie nie było też.
fight and find the odd 1,000 corpses of frenzied folk that remain here. They look a lot like merchants. They probably are merchants. They have the exact same little hand scratcher violin bow that a lot of them wield. I'll let you venture further down here and discover this place for yourself. At the bottom, you'll find a very curious door.
Tam się staje dziedzicem szalejącego płomienia. Jeśli ciekawicie ten Flame of Frenzy, Wati zrobił 40 minut wideo o tym questie, zajebiste jest. 40 minut? To długo, o Jezus. Ale pewnie sobie obejrzę.
One that most characters won't be able to open straight away. So this is the 14th secret, which I will provide, and I'm gonna make it a riddle for you. So here it is.
Ale drzwi powalone.
Only the wretched will be able to get past this door. And if you do get past this door, you will unlock a new ending. Although,
To się wtedy staje po tych drzwiach.
warning, you should probably talk to Melina at the Grace after you come down here to figure out if this is an ending you'd actually want. And also while you're down here, turn to the right after you drop down and go through the illusory wall for a rune arc and the entrance to the deep root depths, which is an area that just has the most hidden entrances to it, but this is actually a pretty convenient one while you're down here. Further back, though, we find another note, and it has the final clue to all of this, in case you regret getting past this door and the path
I że można to odwrócić, robić jakieś inne zadanie. Pamiętam, że ktoś mi też to tłumaczył.
that it puts you down. So to get this note, you have to trick a frenzied enemy into destroying one of these makeshift huts, and the note within it reads, "The Empyrean Miquella crafted a needle to resist the influence of the outer gods. Those who have inherited the flame of frenzy, yet wish not to become its lord, would do well to seek Miquella's needle. In order to get Miquella's needle, you'll need to follow Millicent's questline all
Mikelara.
the way to the end. It starts with Gowry, here in Caelid, and it ends all the way at the Halig tree with Melania. Once you have this needle, you can embed it in your flesh, but you can only do so here at Faram Azula. And here, the flame of frenzy will no longer have any power over you, and it will no longer influence your ending. I really want to talk more about this, but it would end up being like a 30-minute lore video, so subscribe for that if you're interested. Did you know that when you get this boss below around 25% health, that this can happen?
Tego ataku chyba nie
This
miałam.
grab attack did 2,410 damage to our character. We actually had to hack our health higher just to survive it. So this might just be the single most devastating grab attack in any From Software game, I think. But What's really fascinating about this grab attack is that there are two versions of Astel that you can fight in-game, right? There's the natural born of the Void creature in the Ainsel River, and there's the Stars of Darkness variant in the Yellow Annex Tunnel. But
Dwa były te... O! Ja chyba z jednym tylko walczyłam.
in our testing, only the Stars of Darkness variant of Astel can clone itself and use this attack. The other one can't. I wonder why. There's definitely more to these creatures than meets the eye. And it's that same eye that brings us to the Falling Star Beast. So two of these can be found and fought in Elden Ring, but these two are only young, supposedly, because a full-grown Falling Star Beast can also be fought atop Mount Gelmir. But the secret here is that these creatures are only stage 1 of an evolutionary chain.
To ma ewolucję! Ja pierdolę jak Pokémon, ale kurwa już jest jak on mówi, że ma stage 1, to kurwa on był pojebany taki w pierwszym stage'u, to jak on będzie pojebany na przykład na kolejnych.
The mouthpiece of the Falling Star Beast looks a lot like the mouthpiece that many antlion larvae have, and since larvae are basically immature insects, they're bound to go through a pupa or chrysalis stage before they become an adult. Which brings us to the malformed star enemies. This is stage 2, so gone is the...
Aha, czyli... Czy te... Co? To jest druga wersja... Ja pierdolę, to ty... To naprawdę są bardziej pojebane.
quadruped type of animal, and in its place is this hidden, contorted monstrosity, which hangs stationary.
Czyli ta jest druga faza tego. Zajebiście, ja pierdolę. Myślałam, że ten byczek jest przejebany, ale jak byczek się zmienia w to kurwa jeszcze gorzej.
Bugs commonly do in this stage. Here, the beast is much larger and sports multiple limbs. Finally, the skull that was previously only slightly protruding has now become fully visible, and here it fires rocks and attempts to bite those that come too close, waiting for the day that it can reach its full potential as an Astel. Sprouting wings, it now fights you with an enormous tail, new attacks, and 6 fully real...
Ja pierdolę. Kurwa. Nienawidzę tych 3 mobów. I wszystkie 3 wiem, dlaczego ich nienawidzę, bo są jednym i tym samym prawie, że...
realized limbs. Number 3. Around the lands between stand several rises, and to enter these you're often required to solve a puzzle, but probably the most difficult puzzle to solve on your own stands here, in northeastern Leonia. It's hint...
Czy to jest tam, gdzie ja szukałam pingwinów, pingwinów latających? Gdzie nie mogłam też znaleźć tych... I tego chyba nie zrobiłam, jak dobrze pamiętam.
reads Erudition Light the Way, and to get inside you'll need the Erudition Gesture and a glintstone crown helmet, both of which are within the Raya Lucaria Academy. And the combination of wearing the crown and performing the gesture causes the magic gems within most glintstone crowns to glow brightly, illuminating the way through the seal, showing just how clever you are. But what I really want to know is, who the hell was the first one to figure this one out, without looking it up? Next, I want to show off some invisible bridges.
Nieźle. Ale kto musiał to znaleźć, że i to musi zrobić? Kurwa.
In Elden Ring, which might still be hidden to many players. So the first bridge can be found as a solution to yet another rise puzzle, the heretical tower rise in the mountaintop of the giants. Starting on the opposite side of the ravine in the north, you can see a distant stone bridge leading into the tower. Carefully follow this.
Aha, czyli niewidzialny kurwa most. A się zastanawiałam, jak do tego zamku mogę się dostać.
Path and you'll find yourself inside. Being inside by these means will break the seal by the traditional entrance as you defend yourself from the Avionet soldiers inside. Your reward at the top is the powerful Founding Rain of Stars sorcery. The second area, containing concealed walkways, can be found in the hidden path to the Halig Tree. After taking your leap of faith from the rail here, head across to the left to find...
Tu też jest kurwa niewidzialny most. Nie. Ktoś losowo spadł przez tą barierkę i kurwa to znalazł. Jak chuj. Jak chuj.
some valuable loot. Then another path begins from this alcove. Carefully navigate across the abyss to find some vulgar militants who guard 3 sacramental buds. From this exit, looking in the westerly direction, the keen eye will spot this entry being slightly lower than the current level. Walk a straight line here, being wary of the small decline you take to get inside. Here you'll find more enemies, more loot, and a path that leads on to a stray mimic tier boss. The
Mimik! To w tym miejscu był mimik. Mi rzuciła śmiernica w tym miejscu. O kurde, ty to nieźle. I znalazłeś to, czy cię zwaliło na sam dół? Ludzie robili wszystko, to też w sumie prawda.
traditional way we've always revealed these paths is with rainbow stones.
O
Or
właśnie.
now, even better, rainbow stone arrows. But Elden
O, teraz są arrows nawet? O! Bo ja pamiętam, że w Dark Souls 1 też były te kamyczki, co można było rzucać. Ale... Ale kurwa, nie wiedziałam, że w Eldenie też są niewidzialne mosty. Kompletnie. Siemka tu, kto tam, jak tam u ciebie?
Ring has given us yet another valuable tool, Hoarfrost Stomp, which reveals just how much stable ground is in front of you, making it perfect for navigating invisible.
Aha! Czyli coś takiego też jest, że możesz sobie po prostu nawalać stopą i pokazuje ci się. Nieźle. Żyje, to dobrze, to dobrze.
Corners and spiral turns. This should prevent you from falling to your death. And speaking of which, when it comes to falling, Elden Ring appears to have a system in place to help prevent
Grawitacja. Grawitacja mnie zawsze w Eldenie zabija.
unintentional falls. So when you're faced with a sheer drop, like this one, attacks facing that direction will be met with a protective barrier that prevents you from falling. These barriers seem to exist in places where there are large, unbroken falls beneath you, making them really useful when you're navigating those invisible paths
A, czyli atakiem też to można zobaczyć. Nieźle.
discussed earlier. Just swing away and take note of when you seem to stop moving, as you've likely reached the edge. That being said, this method doesn't work for all cliff faces. Beware of using this method against rocky, choppy ledges that don't have a clearly defined fall below them, like this one here. Gestures are also very capable of causing
Zabić się można tym gestem, nie! To też ktoś tak zrobił jakoś losowo.
You'll want to be aware of, if you've been playing Elden Ring for a really long time, is soap. It can be really
Soap! Mydełko! O Bozie! Bozie, Bozie! Nawet nie wiedziałam, że jest mydło w Eldenie.
useful in certain situations. So, when you roll through a poison or rot swamp, your character will be physically coated in the element, and status buildup will increase. Because you're covered, this buildup will continue even after you exit the pool. Now, this coating will eventually wear off, but soap can remove it instantly. Soap will
Nie pomyślałam o tym. Idźcie umyj, kurwa.
also remove any bloodstains that you've managed to gather throughout your journey. And similar to soap, if you roll through a poison pool and then stand under or move into rain, then the poison will come off as well. This effect is immediate,
Oh.
so if the pool is outside in the rain, then you'll find that coating can never occur. And you can also roll in water
O! Ty, ale no deszczu też się da myć, co nie? Deszcz też jest do mycia.
to cleanse the poison. Some pots in Elden Ring even have water in them as well, just for this purpose. In researching soap, we discovered a few other interesting details. First, if you coat yourself by rolling into scarlet rot, and then you exit the swamp and you let the scarlet rot status fully build up based on the body coating, for some strange reason, this body coating will trigger a less deadly version of the rot than if you had just stayed in the pool to activate it. It appears to take about 50% less health per tick if you do it this way. So if you're crossing this enormous lake of rot, what I would do is let the rot status effect fully build up outside of the pool, and then you can just have this weaker version applied to you for your entire journey across. Next, there are also two types of poison in Elden Ring. There's normal and deadly. Deadly
Ej, no są dosłownie... LOL? Ty nie wiedziałam, że są dwa rodzaje tej trucizny.
deals twice as much damage per second when active, and it does this over a shorter period of time as well, which is also beneficial. Weapons like the Serpent Bone Blade and Venomous Fang actually deal this deadly poison, making them far superior, in my opinion, to regular poison infusions as far as DPS goes. So.
Ej, to ja używałam tego smoka. Smoka. Miecza. Ty. To może dlatego mi ten ostatni boss tak dobrze szedł. To może dlatego.
Pick your poison carefully. Radahn might be the boss who's undergone the most since the game's release. The Conqueror of Stars is still tough to beat, but there is another way you can approach this fight that will make it a little less difficult. So this video from Limit Breakers shows that you can actually fully defeat Radahn just by using NPC summons. Limit Breakers found that there are 10 banners in the boss arena, and that each one has a collection of summon signs beneath it that never changes. In total, there are 41 summon signs, but each one can only be used once. Limit Breaker's helpful graphic really breaks it all down. You should go and watch his video. But basically, Blythe can be summoned 6 times, as can Lionel, Trigoth, and Jeren, although Jeren only appears in Phase 2, which I found interesting because it's basically like he's only joining in on the fight when he knows Radahn is probably going to die. Okina and Finger Maiden Theralina can be summoned 5 times, Alexander can be used 3 times, and Patches can be summoned 4 times, though he kind of just pieces out immediately if you do summon him, which is hilarious. But even without
Patches poszedł do kurwa swojego świata i chyba spierdala z tej walki. On nie chce walczyć z tym gościem. On stwierdza, że pierdoli to i nie wychodzi.
Patches. That's 37 fighters, which is basically an army, and while it does take them a while to chip away at Radahn's health, you can also use buffs like the Commander's Standard to help them out. In the end, the summons can do quite a number on the big guy, which is especially relevant if you're underleveled. Just be ready for quite a long battle. In fact, while you're riding around during this long battle, why not listen to some audiobooks? This month, I'd like to recommend
Jakie to długie będzie tej
84
walki.
by Murakami. To a character was the removal of Radahn's pet cat.
Czekaj, Radahn miał kurwa kota?
The long-tailed cat description found in version 1.0 of the game featured a description reading, "A brooch depicting a long-tailed cat, known to be the beloved pet of General Radahn." It goes on.
Kociaka miał! Konika traktuje dobrze. I kotka też miał. Ciekawe, czy by na ramieniu siedział.
To say that this black cat was known to have enjoyed jumping down from great heights. It would leap from the great bell tower of Raya Lucaria as a kitten, and, once fully grown, from the great heavensward roots that twisted through the Erd Tree capital skies. Unfortunately, this description has been edited out for some reason, but even though official word of Radahn's cat is kind of gone, this small detail helps to paint this grander picture of the Conqueror of the Stars. Along with the love that he clearly has for his horse, it seems that before his life as an Elden Ring boss, he was simply an animal lover. Speaking of animals, there's a piece of Gerank's storyline that's very easy to miss. After receiving a few Deathroot, he lashes out at you, and after that, at some point, there's even a moment where you might catch him howling at the night sky outside. Or, perhaps, given his direction, maybe he's howling at the Erd Tree. Of course, Gerankh, or Malakath, was Marika's shadow, and it's kind of heartbreaking to think that he's howling in her direction here, imprisoned as she is inside the Erd Tree.
Będą kaczki, chcę zrobić dzisiaj. Tylko chcę dokończyć filmik.
Number 24, let's talk about Sir Gideon Ofnir. During your battle with him, he utilizes a ton of
Jebany.
spells
Nienawidziłam go, jak z nim wbiłam się. Tyle tak spami tymi zaklęciami, że nie mogę.
and incantations, but have you ever wondered how he gets all these spells? Well, YouTuber Garden of Eyes explains that there's actually a default set of spells that Gideon has. Comet, Comet Azure, Carrion Phalanx, Black Flame Ritual, Triple Rings of Light, Law of Causality, and one open slot. This open spot is determined by whether or not you've killed Rykard, Malenia, or Moog, the Lord of Blood, which are all optional bosses. And depending on which one of these that you've killed, Rykard's Rancor, Malenia's Scarlet Aeonia, or Moog's Blood Boon can be played.
Ja kompletnie nie wiedziałam, że może mieć ten inne spele. U mnie używał tych czaszek, bo zabiłam tego węża przed nim. O Boże! Przypalone by było, jakby miały jeszcze wybuch Maleni.
That open slot. If you've killed two of these bosses, then one of their abilities will replace Comet Azure, and killing all three will also replace Triple Rings of Light. And for our final secret, Gideon isn't the only boss that relies on others for his attacks. One of the ancestral spirits also utilizes the smaller animal spirits that roam around the boss arena to mix up its attack patterns. As pointed out by Zully the Witch, the ancestral spirit will move through the room, bursting through different animals to restore health and obtain some of their characteristics. For example, if it absorbs a deer, then it gains an upwards antler thrust. Absorbing a boar grants it the ability of a ramming charge, while spring hares give it a jumping stomp, and the goats provide these rolling attacks. I love this detail. And
O kurwa, nie wiedziałam. Ja wiedziałam, że on pochłania zwierzęta te, które po prostu się tutaj łażą, żeby się uleczyć, ale że jeszcze ich te abilitki wierzę, to tego nie zauważyłam, powiem szczerze.
so many of the details in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks also to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. You guys will like, I think, what I've been investing some of this sponsor money into soon. With the next Prepare to Cry, you'll see some of that. So please do check out the link in the description for HelloFresh. It really does help me out. And I'm glad I've found a couple of sponsors that I actually have a history with using even before they approached me. So thank you so much for the support. And I'll see you next time.
Powiem szczerze, fajny filmik. Strasznie wszystkie 3 filmiki mi się podobały. Tam były rzeczy, które wiem, które nie wiem, które w ogóle pierwszy raz się z nimi spotkałam lub nie. Kurwa, fajne bardzo, fajne. Kurde, ciekawostki z Eldena są strasznie obszerne. Nie wiem, ja sama niektóre już znam, ale co oglądam nowy filmik, to są nowe ciekawostki. Nie mam kompletnie pojęcia, jak to jest i dlaczego to jest. I kurwa, ile jeszcze tych ciekawostek przede mną.